It's 2026. The diplomatic point of no return between Washington and Tehran hasn't just been reached. It's been crossed. We've all seen the headlines, the posturing, and the threats. But there's a question no one wants to ask, yet everyone is thinking. What happens if the red button is actually pressed? Most people think the end of the world looks like a giant fireball, but science tells a much darker, colder story. Encrypted files, strange discoveries, hidden truths. This is the Pivot Files. Today on the Pivot Files, we aren't just talking about a war. We're talking about the phenomenon that could turn the Sahara into the Arctic. Before we dive into the data, I want to see your vibe check in the comments. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being totally calm and 10 being I'm building a bunker, how concerned are you about the current global tensions? Be honest. The illusion of the blast. When we think nuclear, we think of the explosion. And yes, it's horrific. If a modern warhead hits a major city, the heat is hotter than the surface of the sun. Buildings don't just fall, they evaporate. But history shows us a terrifying pattern. Look at Hiroshima. The blast killed 80,000 people instantly. But 5 years later, that number skyrocketed to 340,000. Why? The silent killer, radiation. However, there is a third stage. A stage so powerful, it doesn't care if you live in New York, Tehran, or a remote village in New Zealand. It's called nuclear winter. The science of the darkness. Here is the pivot point, where war becomes extinction. Nuclear winter isn't caused by 1 or 2 bombs. It's caused by a full-scale exchange. Imagine hundreds of nuclear strikes across the Middle East and US strategic points. These aren't just explosions. They are massive firestorms. Scientists like Alan Robach and Brian Toon have simulated this. When cities burn, they release millions of tons of black carbon, soot, into the stratosphere. Unlike rain clouds, this soot sits way above the weather. It doesn't wash away. It forms a global shroud that blocks the sun. The result? The big freeze. Temperatures drop globally by 10 to 20 degrees. Summer disappears. The ozone gap, the stratosphere heats up, destroying the ozone layer. So, if you survive the cold, the UV radiation will burn your skin and your crops to a crisp. The survival reality check. Now, let's look at the numbers for 2026. Right now, there are over 12,700 nuclear warheads on Earth. Do you think human logic will prevail? Or is a mistake inevitable? In a small nuclear war, say 100 warheads, the computer models show that global food chains collapse. We're talking about 2 billion people starving to death. Not from the radiation, but because the corn in Iowa and the wheat in Russia simply won't grow in the dark. But if we hit the 4,000 warhead mark, that's when we talk about total biological extinction. Wait, is there hope? Actually, yes. The models show that humans are incredibly resilient. Small pockets of society with underground bunkers and high nuclear literacy could survive. But surviving means living in a world where a common cold or a small infection becomes a death sentence. Because the global medical supply chain is gone. The tension between the US and Iran isn't just a chess game for politicians. It's a gamble with the very atmosphere we breathe. Nuclear winter reminds us that in 2026, no nation is an island. A fire in the Middle East can freeze the rest of the world. Survival in this new reality wouldn't just be about having food. It would be about knowledge. Knowing which 33 plant species can grow without sunlight could be the difference between life and death. We cover the stories that change the world's direction. If you want to stay informed on the data that matters, hit that subscribe button for The Pivot Files. Question of the day. If you had only 24 hours to prepare for a gray sky event, what is the first thing you would buy? Tell me in the comments. I'll be hearting the most creative and practical answers. Stay sharp. Stay prepared. I'm your host, and this was The Pivot Files.